Okay, so we are live on Facebook now. I'm going to give it 2 or 3 minutes just to let people hop on really quickly, and then we'll go ahead and start. Um, do you have any last minute questions before we?
I do not.
Okay,
You know what? I'm going to close a door
okay,
if that's okay.
yeah, that's perfectly fine. Give it about 1 more minute, and then we'll start. Okay, we can go ahead and begin. So hello everyone. Thank you for joining us. My name is Adriana Stewart, and I'm currently a junior political science and sports medicine double major studying at Howard University, and I have the pleasure of serving as PawPAC's social media intern. PawPAC is continuing our interview series with our endorsed candidates that you all can get to know them. Today, I have the pleasure of interviewing District 53 State Representative candidate Shawn Only. Shawn, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
So we'll go ahead and jump right into the questions. While we know you're a candidate for state representative, can you tell us who you are outside of the political realm?
Okay. Well, first, thank you, Adriana, for the opportunity to discuss my candidacy for State Rep District 53. Progressive Arkansas Women is a great organization, and I so appreciate the support and the empowerment that you give to women like me who are running for office and giving us a platform to share what we stand for. So, outside the political realm, foremost, I'm an active member of my community who wants the same things that any other human wants. I want a roof over my head, clothes on our back, and food on our table. I pray for peace, and I'm always shooting for joy. And so ultimately, that means quality of life. I want that for myself and for every member of my community. So, outside the political realm, I'm an independent woman. I am a wife, a mom. My children would call me a helicopter mom, and I wear that badge with honor. I'm a business owner, and I volunteer. I have been married to my best friend Ron for 32 years in October, and we are kind of sort of empty nesters because we have 3 children who are 3 young adult children. One who is a starting her junior year in college, and our middle girl is a senior in college, and she's studying environmental engineering. And then our oldest daughter is an educator, and she teaches fifth grade. Fifth grade. And so, if I could, I'd love to talk a little bit about our girls because they are just such outstanding young women. And I always seize every opportunity that I can brag on them because, I'm a mom and, and I should. So, and I'm very proud of them. So, and the reason why I want to mention them is because I appreciate the career path that our daughters have chosen. And specifically with our youngest daughter, she is, again, she's a junior in college and she's studying psychology. And, psychology is what the path that they have chosen is sort of selfless because as a psychologist, we need more psychologists. We need people addressing mental health and emotional health. And when you look at the percentage of teens in Arkansas who are suffering from mental health, I think there's like 40% under the age of 17. That's an issue we really need to address. And then when you compound that with what's happening with this coronavirus and whether they're going back to school, whether they're not, having that, they're very social. So they're not having that time with their friends and they're, and again, our girls, our two youngest are in college. So, that is really impacting their emotional, state for all, I'm sure you as a young woman in college are experiencing that withdrawal from friends, so those are things that we need to address. And then our middle girl is an environmental engineer. And so when you look at how we have, how we're destroying our environment and especially in Arkansas, again, we allow fracking, and that's impacting us because fracking causes earthquakes. It impacts our wastewater disposal. And so, we need people like my daughter who is an environmental engineer, because we need to think about our children's future. What are we leaving them? And then there's our oldest daughter, who is a school teacher. Now, she graduated she finished grad school at Harvard last year. And rather than go into education policy, which was her original plan, she decided to return to the classroom. And I am incredibly proud of her because who better to teach our children than somebody who has top-notch education, and our education, our public education is under attack. And, by those who want to privatize it and who want, school choice. And, there's a lack of funding and, schools are being turned into daycares rather than learning institutions. And then we have a Secretary of Education, Betsy DeVos, who's systematically, destroying our public education, with defunding it and dismantling it and eliminating summer school programs and after school programs, and even so much going so far as to try to get rid of Special Olympics. I mean, what is going on here with our public education system? So, so just in sum, I am in awe of our daughters who are selflessly contributing to our society. And then there's me as a business owner. I manage our private medical practice, and we have a focus on addiction. And so, and I've done that since 2007 when I transitioned out of private law firms out of necessity because my husband's practice manager relocated, and so I came out of working in private law firms to work with him in his private practice. And then I'm a volunteer. I volunteer for organizations that speak to me, that I believe in. And so, we introduced our children at an early age to volunteering and to getting involved in politics. As soon as they turned 18, we made sure that they were registered to vote on their birthday. they have to be involved in what is happening, in their country and all around them, and the decisions that are being made. So, and then as a volunteer, I volunteer for organizations like Moms Demand Action, which, addresses gun laws and, safe gun storage. And, while I believe in our right to protect ourselves, our family, and our home and hunt for our food, I also believe that arming ourselves to the teeth is beyond concerning and definitely not necessary. We have to address, laws like Stand Your Ground, which is basically legalized murder. And we have to address issues like citizens arrest, which needs to be outlawed, because you just can't have rogue citizens taking the lives of other innocent citizens because they believed that they were a threat, but yet they showed no indication that they were a threat. So, I also participate in other local organizations that address teens and drugs. And, I like to read to our toddlers because it's so important that we read to them, right out of the womb, and introduce them early to appreciating reading and learning. And, I do some volunteering, and when I'm not volunteering, I'm donating to those organizations that I believe in. So, that's a little bit about me outside the realm of politics.
That's amazing. You are doing a lot of impactful things, and it's really inspiring to see. I know you had mentioned you were in the medical practice with your husband. So, seeing as though that's a little bit different from running for state rep, what inspired you, or what moment just made you think, yeah, this is I need to run. I need to be a part. I need to be state rep for my district.
Okay, well, I wouldn't I wouldn't say that I was inspired so much as that I was irked that I was irked by our lack of access. And that lack of access revealed quickly that Arkansas was truly lagging behind in comparison to the other 49 states. I felt like we were being treated like second class citizens, things that I guess I took for granted where I lived before, like, having grocery stores within 10 minutes in every direction, and towns within my district, we have food deserts. I miss, I think that we need to address the quality of goods that are sold, and quality workmanship. And, that goes with education and training. We need to have, we need to address our education and training, um, reliable internet. That was actually number one, because I was so irritated when I got here and thought, wait a minute, am I in the United States of America? Am I in a state within America? Why are there other countries that have better internet access than I have here in Arkansas? So, then there were things like career opportunities. We have a state right here, and you expect that this is a college town, but there are people who tell me that I don't know that I would call this a college town, and so what are we going to do with those students when they're finished with their education? We really want them to stay right here, but what opportunities are available to them? And then there, are things like having health, entertainment, and, smoothly paved roads. I frankly pay too much for my car to have to, to drive on roads that, are unpaved, or to have my county tell me that I live on a county road, but I'm responsible for it. Like, I don't understand, or that there are laws, and that there are few laws that protect us, and contracts are questionable. Again, as you know, I've been involved in politics for decades, and so I've watched as our politics have changed. I've watched the trends. You see a lot of doctors and lawyers running for office, and but even though I saw that, I also experienced economic, opportunity and community growth with them, but I didn't see that here. And so, you know, when we relocated here, my husband and I, we had considered other areas of Arkansas. We looked at Bentonville and Fayetteville, and great little towns, up in the around the Ozarks, um, and one thing that I appreciated that Walmart did was that they said, listen, if you're going to be a vendor in our store, you have to have an office here. And that's something that I'd like to see here in Northeast Arkansas, and in the Craighead County. I'd like to see companies, committing to making more opportunities available to the folks here who live in this area. And so getting back to the whole internet thing, and why I was inspired or more irked to run, was because I thought, I could sit around and complain about it, but I can't even get on the internet and tell somebody that I'm irritated about it. And then my party said, when I first got involved, they said, hey, what do you think about running for office? And I thought, maybe this is the time. I've always been a worker ant, and maybe I can lend my ideas, fresh ideas, and my desire to see, a college town and to have opportunity in this area. Maybe I can lend those to running for office, rather than sitting back and just being, allowing the status quo. And so, I talked to my family and I talked to my friends, and I just stepped out on faith and said, okay, this is it. It's time. And so, and the other thing is that we need more women. I mean, women are exceptional. We can multitask. We are just capable of just making things happen. And, we're concerned about our children and our communities. And so I think that this is truly our time to really um, help guide the state and to help guide our country forward. So that's why I am running for State Rep District 53.
That's amazing. It's good to see people, when you decide something's wrong, but I'm going to tackle it and try and make it better. That is amazing. As you mentioned, you've been involved with the Democratic Party for many years. You served as a former election judge, a precinct chair, a county and state delegate for elections, and a county and state resolution committee member for state elections, just to name some of the positions. How has your work within these areas played a role in what you plan to do as state representative?
Well, I think that participating in the positions that you mentioned, I think being on committees, like being on the resolutions committee and making decisions for the good of us all, helped prep me for running for state rep. I think working as a team with other people who want the same things for their community helped me, because I think it helps me to be able to reach across the aisle, because I'm not here to represent just Democrats, and I'm not here to create this continued division that we're seeing. We are one. We're supposed to be one community. So I think that those positions, working as a team and being able to reach across the aisle, engaging with people, with folks in my community, and I think most of all, patience. Because if you've ever attended a party meeting, it takes a lot of patience. Because it can be one little minor thing and we could spend an hour on it. So, and I also think that outside the party, having worked in private law firms for over 20 years, Um, I can read and write legal documents, so I'll be very familiar with any bills that come across. I'll be ready to read them thoroughly and and know and have a better understanding of what's before me. And then lastly, I think it's just a desire to get rid of the status quo because it just doesn't work for me. And I know it's not working for many members of this community. I don't care who you are in this community. You know, people are tired of not seeing any progress in their communities. And so I think that those things, having been involved, prepped me for running for state rep for District 53.
Without a doubt, we can always see how experience um, kind of shows when you are in leadership positions. Um, so you kind of touched on many initiatives that you plan to tackle, but I do want to ask about some of your platform initiatives that include economic growth and empowerment, minimum housing standards, and healthcare. Can you speak on how you plan to tackle these areas within your community or advance them or bring light to them for your district?
Well, I think that economic growth and empowerment is something that I think all candidates and current, representatives and senators seek. But we have to address the elephant in the room, and that is this pandemic that we have going on. In January we started hearing about something in our midst, a deadly virus that might impact us, and we had no idea how just the depths and the just how this was going to impact the world, impact us globally, but how we were going to address it nationally. And then from my area, Jonesboro suffered a tornado, and that was frightening. And so we had the combination of having a pandemic and having a tornado that destroyed numerous businesses and people's homes, and it destroyed our airport. And then you think, here we are, gosh, how many months later? This is August, we're going into September, and we're still trying to figure out how to address this pandemic. You cannot have economic growth and empowerment until you address our health, because our health is the core and the center. It's, I guess that's kind of redundant, but that's what dictates how we can grow and empower our people. Because if we're not addressing this pandemic, then we can't grow uh, economically, because we've shut down businesses, and people do lack health care. If we had just, it's sort of a woulda coulda shoulda, but we didn't. But we still have the opportunity to tackle these things. And so I would say that in terms of economic growth and empowerment, we need to address health first. We need to address health care. We need to address, trying to think of some of the other items that I wanted to say about it. We need to stop the spread of this virus, which seems to have no end in sight. This pandemic caused significant job loss. It was disastrous economically, to our economy, and it's because of the haphazard which we closed down businesses, and unfortunately the governor failed to mandate mask earlier, months ago. But again, I guess better late than never. But I bet it cost us significantly more than we know, had we just had affordable health care, like the Affordable Care Act. That was, I don't care how much people want to pretend that it wasn't a good thing. It was it was indeed helpful to all. But just imagine if we invested in humans, if we treated people, with equity and equality, and realize that, taking care of people, um, it's for the good of us all. Because now look at the impact of many people not being insured, or people not taking care of their health for various reasons. Those very people who are now the ones suffering the most from the impact of this virus. And so I'm losing myself here, but in addition to our economic growth and development, I would address the minimum housing standards that Representative Jimmy Gazaway presented. If he were to represent that, I would certainly join in. And I want to be clear that even though I believe that we all deserve to have better than minimum housing standards, I also believe that landlords have rights too. And so I believe that, because you can't live for free. And we all have a responsibility. So you can't, if you're going to live in somebody's property, you've got to take care of that property too. So what else? So I would address the minimum housing standards by backing that. And back to health, I would make sure that we address healthcare in our community, and address the things that impact our health. And what else? There are a number of things that I would address, but those are just a couple. And I don't know if I've answered your question completely.
You did. You answered it
Oh,
completely.
I've done that.
So that was
So
great.
there are a number of things that I would do.
And that's wonderful. I know you mentioned even those initiatives, but you mentioned a lot of things earlier too that people could take away from that as well. And I know we've talked about a lot of things today, but is there anything else that you wanted to discuss or add on or mention?
Well, I would leave our listeners with this two things that I think are really important, and that is voting, and also addressing coronavirus. I think that we need to stop the spread of this virus. We need to do those basic things that the CDC requested of us. We need to wash our hands. I've always washed my hands, so it's just fascinating to me that, a lot of people are just catching on to this, washing your hands. I mean, what a concept. And we need to continue to social distance, and we need to wear our mask. Oh, I thought I had my mask here, but we need to wear a mask. I mean, it's not much to ask, and I think that those are simple things that we can do. And then we need to listen to and take the advice of scientists, medical doctors, and experts. Those are the very people we need to respect, their expertise. I just don't understand why we would not follow them. And then in terms of voting, I can't stress enough the importance of voting. You know, there are too many who think that their vote does not count. Well, you know what? We're in the predicament that we're in because you didn't think your vote counted. It does. You know, the fabric of our country is at stake. Our democracy is at stake. And that's rather frightening for me, the prospect of those things being at stake. I, often, especially here in states like Arkansas, people get sucked into a false narrative, or frankly, if I may, a Southern strategy that averts our attention from what's really at stake and important, and what's important is a roof over our head, food on our table and clothes on our back, and just having peace, having quality of life. You know, we need to stop being directed, having our attention directed to the Second Amendment and women's bodies and low taxes. The Second Amendment is something that we all agree we need to protect, ourselves, our family, and our homes. But I we need to get away from um, redirecting us to things that really aren't um, impacting um, the bottom line for us, those very things. And so, we need to address our crumbling roads and our poor infrastructure and our strained education system and unskilled labor. And so, I've always understood that you get what you pay for. And so, if you're unwilling to, and, like anyone, I don't want to pay any more taxes than anyone else, but, that just, we've got to take care of our infrastructure. And so that's why it is so important that we vote, that, that we, um, that we don't have people making decisions for us who don't have our best interest, because when you're not aware of what's going on around you, or you're not voting, you're just giving away all your power, you know, and so then you can't complain. When your roads are crumbling, or when you discover that you have no rights as a woman, because some guys are sitting around, some good old boys, taking away our rights. No, thank you. Stay out of my out of um, anyway, I digress. But voting is so important, and so those are the two takeaways, that we vote because it does matter, and so that's where I am.
Women's Only, I would like to thank you again for taking the time to join me today to discuss key elements from your platform, while also allowing us to get to know who you are outside of politics. I hope everyone watching has gained some insight on your plan for the 53rd District as a candidate for state representative, that they're motivated to vote on November 3rd. I know Paul Pack is wishing you the best of luck, and we're hoping for an outcome where we can call you state representative. And so yes, because we need women in power, who are going to make the decisions that need to be made and look out for the rest of us. So I want to thank everyone for tuning in. And again, I just want to thank you for your time. And so with that, we will end it. Thank you everyone for watching, and thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.